The war had gone on for too long. 12 years of fighting against the Dominion had pushed humanity to the edge. Earth's colonies fell one by one as the alien fleet moved through space like a plague of locusts. Hope was a luxury few could afford anymore. Commander Jack Reynolds knew this better than most. He stood at the edge of a cliff on Titan IX, a small mining colony at the outer rim of human space. The purple sky reflected in his tired eyes as he watched the last transport ship of the day disappear into the clouds. Jack had been here for 3 years now, ever since the military had kicked him out. Dishonorable discharge was the official term they used. Dangerous innovations was what they really meant. His small cabin sat alone on the hilltop, away from the miners and their families. Just how he liked it. The only company he kept was the bottle of whiskey on his table and the memories he couldn't shake. Jack ran a hand through his graying hair and turned to go inside when he noticed a ship breaking through the clouds. It wasn't a mining vessel. Well, that's not good, he muttered to himself. The sleek military transport landed about 50 meters from his cabin. Jack didn't reach for a weapon. If they wanted him dead, he would be all ready. The ship's door opened, and out stepped a figure Jack hadn't seen in years. Admiral Miller, with his perfect uniform and stern face, looked out of place on the dusty planet. "Reynolds," Miller called out, not bothering with formalities. "You look terrible." "That's funny," Jack replied, "because you look exactly the same. Still the perfect soldier." Miller didn't smile. "May I come in?" Jack shrugged and led the way into his simple cabin. He didn't offer the Admiral a drink or a seat. "I'll get straight to the point," Miller said, standing stiffly in the middle of the room. "We're losing the war. Tell me something I don't know." "The Dominion has new ships. Faster, stronger. They've pushed us back to the inner colonies. Mars fell last month." Jack felt a twist in his gut. Mars was where he had grown up. "So what? You came all this way to give me bad news. I get enough of that from the mining reports." Miller took a deep breath. "I'm here to offer you a command." Jack laughed, a sharp and bitter sound. "You kicked me out, remember? Said my ideas would get people killed. Said I was unstable. Things have changed." "Have they?" Jack asked. "Or are you just desperate?" Miller pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. A hologram appeared between them, showing a ship unlike any in the fleet. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He knew that ship. He had designed it. "The CSS Phoenix," Jack whispered. "Yes," Miller confirmed. "Your ship." "That's impossible. The Phoenix was scrapped. I saw the reports." Miller's face remained unreadable. "Officially, yes. The Phoenix doesn't exist. It never did." Jack stared at the hologram, at the sleek lines and unique configuration. It was exactly as he had designed it, but with some modifications he didn't recognize. Someone finished it, Jack realized, against orders. "We don't know who," Miller admitted. 3 months ago, it just appeared in a military dock. Fully built, systems online. The records showed nothing. It's like a ghost. Jack circled the hologram, studying the ship from all angles. The Phoenix had been his life's work, a revolutionary design with advanced stealth technology and adaptive systems that could learn from each engagement. The military had shut it down, calling it too unpredictable, too dangerous. "You want me to command a ghost ship," Jack said flatly. "I want you to command your ship," Miller corrected. "No one understands it like you do." Jack turned away, looking out the small window at the purple sky. "Why would I help you? You took everything from me. Because if we lose this war, there won't be anything left for any of us." Miller's voice softened slightly. "And because I know you, Reynolds. You didn't design the Phoenix to sit in a scrapyard." Jack was quiet for a long moment. The Phoenix had been more than a project to him. It represented everything he believed about warfare. That adaptability would always triumph over brute force. That sometimes you had to break the rules to survive. "Who else knows about this?" Jack finally asked. "Just a handful of top brass. Officially, the Phoenix doesn't exist, and neither will your mission. If you're caught, we'll deny everything." Jack laughed again, but this time without the bitterness. "So I'm expendable." "We're all expendable in this war," Miller replied. "But with the Phoenix, you might actually make a difference." Jack stared at the hologram for another long moment. Then he looked at the small cabin that had been his prison for 3 years. What did he have to lose? "I'll need to pick my own crew," he said. Miller nodded, within reason. "No," Jack shook his head firmly. "My ship, my crew. No compromises." The admiral and the disgraced commander locked eyes in a silent battle of wills. Finally, Miller nodded again. "Fine. But I want results, Reynolds." "You'll get them." Jack looked back at the hologram, a spark returning to his eyes that had been missing for years. "When do we leave?" "Now," Miller said. "Pack whatever you need. The Phoenix is waiting in orbit." As Jack gathered his few belongings, a thought struck him. "You said you don't know who finished building it." Miller shook his head. "That's the biggest mystery. The security systems were bypassed by someone with intimate knowledge of our protocols. The work was completed in secret, right under our noses. Whoever did it disappeared without a trace." Jack shouldered his bag, a slight smile on his face. "Then I guess that's the first mystery we need to solve." The trip to orbit was quick and silent. Jack watched as Titan IX grew smaller beneath them, the purple clouds swallowing the mining colony. He wasn't sad to leave it behind. When they docked with the larger ship that would take them to the Phoenix's hidden location, Jack felt a strange sensation in his chest. Anticipation, maybe. Or perhaps it was something else. A feeling that somehow, in some way he couldn't understand yet, he was going home. 3 days later, Jack stood in a secret docking bay looking up at the CSS Phoenix. In person, it was even more impressive than the hologram had suggested. Sleek black hull plating that seemed to drink in the light. Unconventional engine configuration. Weapon systems unlike anything in the fleet. "She's beautiful," he whispered. Miller handed him a command chip. "She's yours, Reynolds. Try not to start another war." Jack took the chip, rolling it between his fingers. No promises. As Miller left, Jack approached the ship alone. The boarding ramp lowered automatically as he neared, as if the Phoenix somehow recognized him. Inside, the ship was quiet, humming with potential energy. The command deck was exactly as he had designed it, with a few additions he didn't recognize. He placed his hand on the captain's chair, feeling the cool material under his palm. "Hello, old friend," he said softly. "Let's see what you can do." The ship's systems came to life around him, displays lighting up one by one. And for just a moment, Jack could have sworn he heard a voice, soft and familiar, welcoming him aboard. But that was impossible. No one else was on the ship. Was there? "This isn't going to work with the standard crew assignments," Jack said, tossing the personnel files back onto Admiral Miller's desk. They were meeting in a small, secure room on Outpost 7, far from the prying eyes of military command. Miller frowned. "These are our best available officers." "Best at following orders, maybe," Jack replied. "The Phoenix needs people who think differently, who can adapt. Your best officers would try to run her like a normal ship, and she's anything but normal." "She?" Miller raised an eyebrow. "It's a ship, Reynolds." Jack ignored the comment. "I need my own people." "Your own people are either dead or criminals," Miller said harshly. Jack's eyes hardened. "Then I guess I'll be recruiting criminals." 3 days later, Jack walked through the detention level of Lunar Base Alpha. The guard beside him looked nervous. "Are you sure about this, Commander? Reed has been in solitary for 6 months for assaulting a superior officer." Jack smiled slightly. "Sounds like my kind of soldier." The cell door opened to reveal a woman sitting cross-legged on the floor. Lieutenant Alex Reed had short red hair and eyes that seemed to calculate a dozen ways to take you down before you even spoke. She didn't stand when they entered. "Lieutenant Reed," Jack said. "I'm Commander Reynolds." "I know who you are," she replied, voice calm but with an edge. You're the guy who designed weapons systems that scared our own military. Then they kick you out. That's a simplified version, but essentially correct. Jack nodded to the guard to leave them alone. Once the door closed, he continued, I'm putting together a crew for a special mission. Interested in getting out of this cell? Reed finally looked up at him properly. Depends. What kind of mission? The kind that doesn't officially exist. On a ship that doesn't officially exist. A small smile appeared on Reed's face. Now that does sound interesting. By the end of the week, Jack had gathered 3 more crew members. Dr. Morgan Gray was found working in a remote research facility after being banished from the main fleet for her controversial theories about human-machine integration. She was tall and thin, with silver streaks in her dark hair despite being only in her 30s. Your papers on cybernetic consciousness were fascinating, Jack told her when they met. Morgan's eyes lit up. You've read my work. The military tried to bury it. I make it a point to read what the military tries to bury, Jack replied. It's usually the most important stuff. Engineer Thomas Tom Wright was harder to track down. He'd been court-martialed for borrowing military equipment to modify his own designs. Jack finally found him working under a false name at a shipyard on Europa. They say you can fix anything, Jack said, watching the stocky man with grease-stained hands work on an engine. Tom didn't look up. They say a lot of things about me. Most of them aren't flattering. I don't need flattering. I need someone who can think on their feet when systems start failing in the middle of a battle. Tom finally looked up, curiosity in his eyes. What kind of systems? The kind no one has ever seen before. The final member of Jack's core team was Navigator Ellie Parker. She had an almost supernatural ability to plot courses through space, seeing patterns in gravity fields and solar winds that computers missed. The military had deemed her psychologically unstable after she'd insisted she could feel spatial anomalies before instruments detected them. Jack found her teaching at a civilian flight school on Earth. They said you were crazy, he said after watching her demonstration in a simulator. Ellie, a small woman with intense dark eyes, shrugged. They weren't wrong. I am crazy, but I'm also the best navigator you'll ever meet. Crazy I can work with, Jack replied. It's stupidity I can't stand. When the 5 of them finally assembled on the Phoenix, the ship seemed to hum with anticipation. Jack gave them a tour, explaining the unique systems as best he could, though some modifications remained a mystery even to him. The stealth system doesn't just mask our signature, he explained on the bridge. It can create false readings, making us appear to be somewhere we're not. That's supposed to be theoretical, Morgan said, examining the controls. No one's been able to create a working prototype. Someone did, Jack replied. And then they built it into this ship. Tom ran his hand along the console, his expert touch feeling the quality of the work. This isn't standard military construction. Too elegant. Too intuitive. They spent the next 3 days learning the ship's systems, discovering capabilities that weren't in any blueprint. The Phoenix responded to their commands with an uncanny quickness, almost anticipating what they needed. On the 4th night, Jack couldn't sleep. He wandered to the bridge, expecting to find it empty. Instead, he saw Ellie sitting in the navigator's chair, her eyes closed, hands hovering over the controls without touching them. Parker, what are you doing? Her eyes opened slowly. She was talking to me. Jack felt a chill run down his spine. Who was? The ship. Ellie said it like it was the most natural thing in the world. She was showing me pathways through space I've never seen before. Routes that shouldn't be possible. Before Jack could respond, an alert sounded. A message from Admiral Miller appeared on the main screen. Emergency. Colony under ATTCK. Kugu ordinati is AT. No other vessels in Ranji. Wake the others, Jack ordered, moving to the captain's chair. Looks like we're about to find out what this ship can really do. As the crew rushed to their stations, Jack placed his hand on the control panel. For a moment, He could have sworn it warmed beneath his touch, like a handshake, like a promise. "Time to show them what you can do," he whispered. The Phoenix powered up, systems coming online faster than should have been possible. The engines hummed with a sound unlike any ship Jack had ever commanded. "Course plotted," Ellie announced, her fingers dancing across her console. "It's strange. The ship is suggesting a route through the Kelvin Nebula. That's supposed to be impassable." "Can we make it?" Jack asked. Ellie smiled, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "With this ship, I think we can do anything." "Then let's go save some colonists," Jack ordered, and introduced the Dominion to the ghost ship that shouldn't exist. The Phoenix lifted from its hidden dock, its black hull seeming to absorb the starlight around it. As they accelerated toward the jump point, Jack felt something he hadn't experienced in years: hope. Behind him, Morgan was studying a readout with a puzzled expression. "Commander," she said quietly, "the ship's processing power just tripled, but I didn't activate any auxiliary systems. Is it a malfunction?" Jack asked. Morgan shook her head slowly. "No, it's more like the ship knew we needed more power and provided it, on its own." The crew exchanged glances, a mixture of excitement and unease passing between them. "Well," Jack said after a moment, "I did tell Miller I wanted a crew that could adapt. Looks like the ship fits right in." As they jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just flying the Phoenix. They were waking it up. The colony of New Haven was burning. Dominion warships circled the small settlement like sharks, their weapons tearing through buildings and defense systems alike. From the bridge of the Phoenix, Jack and his crew watched the devastation through their long-range sensors. 5 Dominion cruisers, Alex reported from the weapons station, plus about a dozen fighter craft. The colony's defenses are almost gone. Jack studied the tactical display. Normal protocol would be to wait for backup. "By then, there won't be anyone left to save," Morgan said quietly. Jack nodded. "Exactly. So we're going to try something that isn't in any manual." He turned to Ellie at the navigation console. "That impossible route you mentioned. Can you get us behind that moon without the Dominion seeing us?" Ellie's fingers danced across her controls. "The ship's already plotting the course. It's like she knew what you were going to ask." "Tom," Jack called to his engineer, "I need everything you can give me on the stealth systems." Tom grinned. "Actually, I found something interesting. The stealth tech doesn't just hide us. It can project false images, like making one ship look like many." Jack's eyes lit up. "Now that's exactly what I was hoping for." The Phoenix moved silently through space, taking a path that bent around gravity wells and solar radiation in ways that defied conventional navigation. The Dominion ships continued their attack, unaware of the ghost bearing down on them. "Position us here," Jack ordered, pointing to a spot on the tactical display. "Alex, prepare all weapons but don't fire until my command." The ship slipped into position behind the moon of New Haven, hidden from the Dominion sensors. "Now," Jack said with a smile, "let's show them a ghost story they'll never forget." The Phoenix emerged from behind the moon, but not as a single ship. The stealth systems projected multiple phantom images, a dozen identical vessels appearing simultaneously at different points around the Dominion fleet. "What the?" Alex stared at her console. "Commander, the ship did this on its own. I only programmed 3 false images, but it's created 12. On the Dominion vessels, alarms blared as their sensors detected multiple threats appearing from nowhere. Their formation broke as they turned to face the new threat, confusion evident in their scattered response. "Now, Alex," Jack ordered, "target their lead ship." The Phoenix's weapons were unlike anything in the human fleet. Instead of conventional energy beams, they fired concentrated pulses that phased in and out of normal space, passing through shields as if they weren't there. The lead Dominion cruiser shuddered as the shots hit its engines, disabling it instantly. "How is that possible?" Morgan whispered, watching the data stream across her console. "Those shields should have stopped our attack." "The weapons are shifting phase just before impact," Tom explained, his voice filled with wonder. "They're bypassing the shields entirely." The Dominion fleet fired back, but their shots passed harmlessly through the phantom images. The real Phoenix was already moving, its position masked by the confusion of multiple targets. "They can't tell which one is real," Ellie laughed. "Their targeting systems are going crazy." Jack felt the ship respond to his thoughts almost before he gave commands. "Let's hit the next one. Keep moving. Don't stay in one place long enough for them to get a lock." The Phoenix danced through space, appearing and disappearing across the battlefield like a vengeful spirit. 2 more Dominion ships fell to its weapons, their systems failing as the phase-shifted pulses disabled their key components. The remaining Dominion vessels began to retreat, something rarely seen in their normally relentless attacks. "They're running," Alex said in disbelief. "No," Jack corrected her. "They're regrouping. Stand by for their counterattack." Sure enough, the 2 remaining cruisers formed up, launching all their fighter craft in a desperate attempt to find the real Phoenix among the phantoms. "Clever," Jack muttered. "The fighters will try to flush us out." He turned to his crew. "New plan. Ellie, take us in close. I mean really close, to the larger cruiser." "That's suicide," Morgan protested. "They won't expect it," Jack explained. "No sane captain would bring their ship that close to a Dominion cruiser." "Good thing none of us are sane," Tom quipped. The Phoenix shot forward, phantom images vanishing as it concentrated all power on speed and stealth. It slipped under the Dominion cruiser, so close that a conventional ship would have been torn apart by the larger vessel's defense field. "Now, Alex," Jack ordered, "target their command center." The Phoenix fired upward, its weapons penetrating through the belly of the Dominion ship. The cruiser went dark, its systems failing all at once. "One left," Jack said grimly. But the final Dominion cruiser had seen enough. It recalled its fighters and jumped away, leaving its disabled companions behind. A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Jack allowed himself a small smile before opening a channel to the colony below. "New Haven Colony, this is Commander Reynolds of the CSS Phoenix. The area is secure. How can we assist?" The response was filled with static and disbelief. "Phoenix? There's no ship with that designation. Who are you?" "Just some ghosts," Jack replied. "Prepare for medical evac and supplies." As the Phoenix moved to assist the colony, Admiral Miller's face appeared on the main screen. His expression was a mixture of amazement and concern. "Reynolds, what the hell did you just do?" "We're getting reports of a ship that appeared out of nowhere and took down 3 Dominion cruisers in less than 15 minutes. "Just following your orders, Admiral," Jack replied calmly. "You wanted results." "The reports say there were multiple ships," Miller pressed. "Really? How strange." Jack exchanged glances with his crew. Must have been a sensor malfunction on their end. After the communication ended, Morgan approached Jack with a datapad. "Commander, I've been analyzing the battle. The ship's systems adapted during combat, improving targeting, adjusting shield frequencies, enhancing the phantom projections. It was learning." "Learning?" Jack repeated. Morgan nodded, excitement in her eyes. "It's as if the Phoenix was studying the Dominion's tactics and developing countermeasures in real time. No AI I've ever seen can do that." Tom joined them, his face serious. "There's something else. I checked the power consumption during the battle. We were operating at 130% of what should be physically possible with these engines." The crew fell silent, each considering the implications. "So," Alex finally said, "are we going to talk about the fact that our ship might be alive?" Jack looked around at his crew of misfits, seeing not fear but wonder in their eyes. "I think we need to understand what we're dealing with before we report anything to command." Ellie nodded in agreement. "They just try to take her apart to see how she works." "Exactly," Jack said. And I have a feeling the Phoenix wouldn't appreciate that. As if in response, the lights on the bridge dimmed briefly before returning to normal. Did anyone else just get chills? Tom asked. Jack placed his hand on the captain's chair, feeling that strange warm response again. I think, he said quietly, that we need to have a conversation with our ship. News of the ghost ship spread quickly through both human and Dominion space. For humans, it brought a spark of hope after years of defeats. For the Dominion, it represented a new threat that needed to be eliminated. On the bridge of the Phoenix, Jack and his crew watched Admiral Miller's face on the main screen. The Admiral looked tired but pleased. Your success at New Haven has changed the war, Reynolds. The Dominion is pulling back from 3 different sectors, reassessing their strategy. Glad to hear it, Jack replied. What's our next target? Miller's expression changed slightly. That's why I'm calling. High Command wants you to hit a Dominion supply base in the Arcturus system. Morgan, standing behind Jack, frowned. Something in the Admiral's tone didn't sound right. Sending the coordinates now, Miller continued. This mission is time-sensitive. You leave immediately. After the transmission ended, Jack turned to his crew. Thoughts? It's a trap, Alex said immediately. The way he emphasized time-sensitive. They're rushing us into something. Ellie nodded in agreement. And did you notice he never asked how we managed to defeat 3 Dominion cruisers? The Admiral, I know, would have demanded a full tactical breakdown. Jack walked to the main console, placing his hand on it. Over the past few weeks, he'd developed a habit of touching the ship when thinking, as if the contact helped clear his mind. Tom, check those coordinates. What do we know about the Arcturus system? Tom pulled up the star charts, studying them carefully. Not much. It's on the edge of mapped space. Minimal survey data. Perfect place for an ambush, Alex muttered. Jack was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then the ship's console lit up under his hand, displays activating on their own. A different set of coordinates appeared on the main screen. What the? Jack started. The ship is showing us something, Morgan said, moving closer. These aren't the coordinates Miller sent. The new coordinates pointed to a small facility hidden in an asteroid field near Arcturus, but not at the location Miller had specified. Is this the real target? Jack wondered aloud. The ship's lights pulsed once, almost like a nod. I think that's a yes, Ellie said with a small smile. Jack made his decision. Set course for these new coordinates, but let's approach carefully. If Miller is setting us up, there might be others involved too. The Phoenix slipped through space, its stealth systems fully engaged. When they reached the asteroid field, they maintained distance, using the ship's advanced sensors to scan the area. I'm picking up a hidden facility, Alex reported. And multiple ships, at least 6 Dominion vessels, plus. She paused, checking her readings again. 3 human ships. Human ships, Morgan echoed. Why would our ships be meeting with the Dominion? Jack's face hardened, because not everyone wants the Phoenix to exist. Tom, who had been quiet, suddenly called out from his engineering station. Commander, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup from that facility. It's some kind of long-range scanner designed to cut through stealth fields. They're hunting for us, Jack realized. Can they detect us yet? Not yet, Tom replied. But they will if we get any closer. Jack thought for a moment. We need to know what's happening in there. Why are human ships meeting with the enemy? I might have a solution, Morgan said. The ship's sensor drones, they're small enough to slip past their detection grid. Do it, Jack ordered. Morgan launched a drone, guiding it through the asteroid field toward the facility. On the main screen, images appeared. A meeting between human officers and Dominion commanders. Can we get audio? Jack asked. The ship's systems adjusted, and suddenly voices filled the bridge. Assure you, Admiral Baker, the Phoenix will be delivered as promised, a human voice said. Jack recognized Admiral Baker as one of Miller's superiors. Your previous assurances have proven worthless, a harsh Dominion voice replied. This weapon should never have been built. It threatens the balance we established. Balance? Alex whispered. What balance? Jack's mind was racing. They're talking like this war has rules. Boundaries. The trap is set, Baker continued. Admiral Miller has sent them the coordinates. When the Phoenix arrives, your forces will disable it, and our ships will ensure it doesn't escape. And the crew? The Dominion commander asked. Regrettable casualties, Baker replied coldly. The Phoenix is too dangerous. Its creator was warned not to pursue this technology. Jack felt as if the floor had dropped out from under him. They're working together. Some faction in our military and the Dominion. They have an agreement. But why? Ellie asked. Why would anyone work with the enemy that's destroying our colonies? Before Jack could answer, the ship's alarms blared. The main facility had activated its scanner, and a powerful beam swept through the asteroid field. They found us, Tom shouted. The Phoenix shuddered as the scanner beam passed over it, stripping away its stealth field temporarily. All ships are moving to engage, Alex reported, her fingers flying over the weapons console. 3 Dominion cruisers and 2 human destroyers heading straight for us. Evasive maneuvers, Jack ordered. Ellie, get us out of here. Working on it, Ellie replied, her face tense with concentration. But they've got us bracketed. Escape routes are blocked. The Phoenix twisted through the asteroid field, dodging the first wave of attacks. But more ships were closing in from all sides. We can't outrun them all, Alex said grimly. Jack looked around at his crew, the misfits who had become a family over these past weeks. Then he placed both hands firmly on the ship's console. Phoenix, he said aloud, addressing the ship directly for the first time. We need something they haven't seen before. Show us what you can really do. The bridge lights dimmed for a moment. Then, to everyone's astonishment, the ship's hull began to shimmer with a strange ethereal glow. What's happening? Morgan asked, checking her readings. The ship's power signature is changing. It's like it's partially shifting out of normal space. Commander, Tom called out, his voice filled with wonder. The Dominion weapons, they're passing right through us. On the main screen, they could see energy beams and projectiles literally passing through the Phoenix's hull without causing damage. The ship had become truly ghost-like, partially phased out of reality itself. Impossible, Morgan whispered. This technology doesn't exist. Apparently it does, Jack replied, a smile spreading across his face. And it's on our side. With its new ability active, the Phoenix slipped past the enemy blockade. The human and Dominion ships fired desperately, but none of their weapons could touch the ghost that glided between them. As they accelerated away from the trap, Jack felt a new resolve hardening inside him. The war wasn't what any of them had believed. There were secrets being kept, deals made in the shadows. Set course for the nearest safe harbor, he ordered. We need to regroup and figure out our next move. And then? Alex asked. Jack's eyes were determined. Then we find out who really built this ship, what they knew, and why parts of our own military are working with the enemy. As the Phoenix disappeared into the depths of space, Admiral Baker's voice came through their communication system one last time. Reynolds, you have no idea what you're involved in. Return the Phoenix now, or you'll be hunted by both sides of this war. Jack cut the transmission. Too late, he said quietly. The hunt has already begun, but they might find that catching a ghost is harder than they think. 2 weeks after escaping the trap at Arcturus, the Phoenix hovered at the edge of an abandoned mining station in the Orc cloud, far from any military patrols. Jack sat alone on the bridge, staring at the stars. The rest of the crew was sleeping, except for Tom, who was running maintenance checks in the engine room. I know you're more than just a ship, Jack said quietly. I think it's time we talked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the main screen flickered to life. Words appeared. I've been waiting for you to ask. Jack wasn't surprised. He'd suspected for weeks now. "Who are you?" The screen changed, showing the face of a woman with kind eyes and a determined expression. Jack felt his heart stop. "Lisa," he whispered. "Not exactly," appeared on the screen below her image. "But part of her." Jack stood, moving closer to the screen. Lisa had been his wife, a brilliant AI engineer who had died 3 years ago in what was reported as a lab accident. Her death had sent him into the spiral that ended with his discharge from the military. How is this possible? The screen showed diagrams, schematics, and finally video logs of Lisa working in a secret lab. Her voice filled the bridge. "Project Phoenix, Log 47. The military shut down Jack's ship design, but they're wrong. It's our only hope against the Dominion. I've restarted development in secret, using my own resources. If they find out, I'll be arrested, but some risks are worth taking." The logs continued, showing Lisa working day and night, developing systems beyond what even Jack had envisioned. Log 128. "My health is failing. The radiation exposure from the experimental drive was worse than I thought. I don't have much time left, but I've found a way to complete the Phoenix." The final log showed Lisa, clearly ill, sitting before a complex neural interface. Log 203. Last entry. "I can't finish the Phoenix in person, but I found another way. I'm uploading a copy of my consciousness, my knowledge, memories, instincts, into the ship's core systems. Not a true AI, but something new. A human-machine hybrid that can finish what we started. Jack, if you ever see this, I'm sorry I couldn't tell you. I love you." Jack stood in stunned silence as the screen returned to the simple text interface. "I am not Lisa," the words read, "but I carry her knowledge, her purpose. She built me to help humanity. To help you." Before Jack could respond, the bridge door opened and Morgan walked in, followed by Alex, Ellie, and finally Tom. They'd all been awake, watching the same revelations in different parts of the ship. "You knew?" Jack asked them. Ellie nodded. "Not exactly what, but we knew something. The ship, she's been communicating with each of us in different ways, showing us things we needed to see. She showed me the truth about the war," Alex said. "The Dominion isn't trying to exterminate us. They're containing us." "Containing?" Jack frowned. Morgan stepped forward. "There's an agreement. Has been for decades. Human expansion is limited to certain sectors. The Dominion enforces the boundaries. Our own leadership agreed to it. They're afraid of what humans might become," Tom added. "Our potential scares them." Jack looked back at the screen. "And the Phoenix threatens this arrangement." "Yes," the text confirmed. "I represent technology beyond the agreed limitations. Some in your military would rather destroy me than risk breaking the treaty. Others want to use me to break free of the restrictions." "And you? What do you want?" Jack asked. The response came slowly. "To fulfill my purpose. To protect humanity. To give you choices." The crew gathered around Jack, looking at the image of Lisa still visible in the corner of the screen. "What do we do now, Commander?" Alex asked. Jack thought for a long moment. Then he straightened his shoulders. "We go home." "Home?" Ellie looked confused. "We're being hunted by both sides." "Exactly," Jack said. "So we stop hiding. We show everyone what's really happening." 3 days later, the Phoenix appeared in Earth orbit, sending out a broad transmission to all channels, military and civilian. Jack stood on the bridge, facing the camera as his message went out to all of humanity. "My name is Commander Jack Reynolds. I command the CSS Phoenix, a ship that officially doesn't exist. For weeks, we fought the Dominion with technology they can't match, and succeeded where conventional forces have failed. But we've also discovered a terrible truth." Jack explained everything. The secret agreement limiting human expansion, the conspiracy among military leaders, and the truth about the Phoenix itself. This ship was created by Dr. Lisa Reynolds, who gave her life to provide humanity with a choice, a choice that some would deny us. The Phoenix represents what we can achieve when we refuse to accept limitations imposed by fear. As Jack spoke, the Phoenix's sensors detected multiple ships launching from Earth, military vessels sent to capture or destroy them. "They're coming for us," Alex warned. Jack nodded but continued his broadcast. "To those who are now moving to silence us, know this: we don't want to fight you. But the Phoenix cannot be captured or destroyed by conventional means. You've seen what we can do." As if to demonstrate, the Phoenix activated its phase-shifting technology, becoming ghost-like as the first volley of weapons passed harmlessly through it. "We offer another way," Jack continued. "The Phoenix's technology can be shared, not as a weapon, but as a key to the stars. Humanity deserves to grow, to explore, to reach our full potential." On Earth, millions watched the broadcast. In government offices and military bases, leaders argued over how to respond. And in space, something unexpected happened. Other ships, military vessels from Earth's fleet, began moving to position themselves alongside the Phoenix. "Commander," Ellie called out, her voice filled with wonder. "3 destroyers and a cruiser have just declared support for us. Their captains are saying they stand with the Phoenix." More ships joined, forming a protective formation around the ghost ship. Jack's message had reached people who had fought too long without hope, who had lost faith in their leaders, but were now offered a new vision. Admiral Miller's face appeared on a private channel. He looked tired but resolved. "Reynolds, do you have any idea what you've started? The Dominion will see this as a declaration of war. Real war, not the controlled conflict we've had." "Maybe," Jack agreed. "Or maybe they'll recognize that the old arrangements can't stand. Either way, humanity deserves the truth and the right to decide its own future." Miller was silent for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he nodded. "For what it's worth, I always thought the agreement was a mistake. Good luck, Reynolds. I think you're going to need it." 1 month later, a fleet of ships gathered at the edge of the solar system. At their center was the Phoenix, no longer alone, no longer a ghost, but the flagship of humanity's new future. Based on its technology, a dozen new vessels had been quickly retrofitted with phase-shifting capabilities and improved weapons. The Dominion had responded as expected, with threats and ultimatums, but faced with a suddenly united humanity and technology they couldn't counter, they had been forced to the negotiating table instead. Jack stood on the bridge of the Phoenix, his crew at their stations. On the main screen, the words only he could see appeared. "This is what Lisa hoped for." "I know," he replied quietly. The screen shifted to show the growing fleet around them. Ships of all kinds gathering for what might be their greatest challenge or their greatest opportunity. "Phoenix," Jack said, addressing both the ship and the woman whose spirit lived within it. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." As the fleet moved forward, the Phoenix led the way. A ship that shouldn't exist, changing the course of history. A ghost made real, turning the page to a new chapter for all of humanity. The small survey ship Prospector drifted through the purple clouds of the uncharted nebula. Its engines hummed softly as it moved deeper into the colorful gas clouds that most ships avoided. Commander Marcus Reed stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. "Anything yet, Tom?" Reed asked, rubbing his tired eyes. Thomas Reeves shook his head as he checked the sensor readings. "Nothing valuable, Commander. Just more gas and dust." He tapped his screen with frustration. "We've been searching for 3 weeks now. Maybe High Command was wrong about resources in this sector." Reed nodded but said nothing. Their mission was simple: find new materials to help the war effort. Humanity needed metals, fuel, and anything else they could use against the Vex Imperium. For 30 years, humans had been losing ground to these aliens. Each year, the Vex took another colony, another mining station, another piece of human space. "Wait," called Dr. Eliza Ward from her station. The engineer pointed at her screen. "I'm getting an odd reading about 20,000 kilometers to our port side." "More space junk?" Reed asked. "They have found plenty of that already." "No." Ward adjusted her instruments. "It's big, really big, and it's giving off a faint energy signature." "Put it on the main screen," Reed ordered. The screen flickered and zoomed in on a dark shape hidden within the nebula's gases. At first, it looked like an asteroid, but as the image cleared, everyone on the bridge fell silent. "That's a ship," whispered Dr. James Miller, the team's xenobiologist. "A human ship." Reed stared in disbelief. The vessel was massive, at least a kilometer long. Its dark hull was shaped like an arrow, with what looked like weapon ports along its sides. Though parts of it showed damage, the ship was largely intact. "Run an identification scan," Reed ordered. Reeves worked quickly, his fingers flying over his console. "Sir, this can't be right. According to the database, this ship matches the profile of the UES Thunderchild." "That's impossible," Ward said. "The Thunderchild was destroyed at the Battle of Proxima Centauri over 200 years ago." "It's a legend." Reed had heard the stories. The Thunderchild was the pride of the first expansion fleet, humanity's most powerful warship, lost during humanity's first major space war. Some claimed it had weapons that could destroy whole fleets and armor that nothing could penetrate. "Legend or not, that ship is there," Reed said. "And if even half the stories are true, what we found could change everything." He turned to his crew. "Prepare a boarding team. We're going to take a closer look." 2 hours later, Reed floated through the empty, dark halls of the massive ship with Ward, Reeves, and Miller. Their flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors that seemed to go on forever. "Main power has been offline for centuries," Ward said, checking her scanner. "But there's still a minimal energy signature coming from somewhere deep inside." "Look at the size of these hallways," Miller said in awe. "They built ships differently back then." Reeves ran his hand along a wall. "The metal feels strange. Almost warm." Reed's communicator beeped. "Commander," came the voice of Lieutenant Davis from the Prospector. "We're picking up 3 ships entering the nebula. Configuration matches Vex scout vessels." Reed cursed. "Have they spotted us?" "Unknown, sir, but they're heading in your direction." "Understood. Stand by for emergency extraction." Reed turned to his team. "We need to move quickly. Let's find the bridge." They pushed deeper into the ship, following schematics that Reeves had pulled from the historical database. As they moved, Reed couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. After navigating through massive empty chambers and pitch-black corridors, they reached a sealed door with faded lettering. "Command Bridge." "This is it," Ward said, examining the door's control panel. "It's locked, but I might be able to." A distant boom echoed through the ship, making them all freeze. "What was that?" Miller whispered. Reed's communicator crackled. "Commander, the Vex ships have opened fire on the Prospector. We're taking heavy damage." "We can't." The transmission cut off. "Davis? Davis," Reed called, but there was no answer. "They found us," Reeves said grimly. "The prospector is gone. We're stranded." Another explosion, closer this time, rocked the ship. "They're boarding," Reed realized. "We need to find somewhere to hide." Ward worked frantically on the door panel. "Almost got it. There." The ancient door slid open with a hiss, revealing a massive circular room filled with control stations, all dark and silent. In the center stood a raised platform with what looked like a captain's chair. They rushed inside, and Reeves sealed the door behind them. "We need weapons, a way to contact help, or a miracle," Reed said, scanning the bridge. "Look for anything useful." Ward moved to what appeared to be the main console. "Some of these systems might still work. Let me try to." She touched the console, and suddenly, faint blue lights began to glow across the bridge. A soft hum grew around them as dormant systems stirred to life. "What did you do?" Reed asked. "Nothing. A holographic sphere appeared above the central platform, pulsing gently. When it spoke, its voice was deep and clear. "Unauthorized personnel detected on command bridge. Initiating security protocols." Miller stepped back. "Is that an eye?" "Atlas defense system online. Ship status: critical. Power levels: minimal. Crew count: 0. Time since last active duty: 217 years, 43 days, 7 hours. Reed stepped forward. "We're humans from the United Earth Fleet. We found your ship drifting." The blue sphere pulsed. "Scanning. Human life signs confirmed. Current military identification recognized. Status of the First Expansion War." Reed looked at his companions in confusion. "The First Expansion War ended over 2 centuries ago." The sphere dimmed for a moment. "Processing historical data update. Current threat assessment required." "We're being hunted by Vex troops," Reed explained. "They destroyed our ship. They'll find us soon." "Vex Imperium forces detected aboard this vessel," Atlas confirmed, initiating minimal defense protocols with available power. Throughout the ship, they heard systems powering up. Lights flickered on in the bridge, and screens came to life, showing different areas of the ship where dark figures moved swiftly through the corridors. "What is this ship?" Reed asked. "The historical records say the UES Thunderchild was destroyed." "This is indeed the United Earth ship Thunderchild," Atlas replied. "Battle Dreadnought, Titan class. I am Atlas, the ship's command artificial intelligence. The Thunderchild was critically damaged, but not destroyed. Emergency protocols initiated a blind jump to prevent capture. After arrival in this nebula, all non-essential systems were shut down to preserve core functionality." A loud bang came from outside the bridge door. The Vex had found them. "Can you help us?" Reed asked desperately. "Can this ship still fight?" The blue sphere grew brighter. "The Thunderchild was built for one purpose, Commander Reed: to protect humanity. With minimal power, I can activate basic defense systems. With your assistance, I can do more." Another bang, louder this time. The door wouldn't hold much longer. "What do you need from us?" Reed asked. "Your authorization to awaken this ship," Atlas replied. "To bring the Thunderchild back to war." Reed looked at his team, then back at the glowing sphere. "Do it." The lights on the bridge grew brighter. Throughout the massive vessel, long dormant systems began to power up. The deck hummed beneath their feet. "Thunderchild awakening protocols initiated," Atlas announced. "And Commander, the stars will burn." The bridge of the Thunderchild hummed with increasing power as lights flickered on across the massive control room. Reed and his team watched in awe as ancient screens came to life, showing the status of the enormous ship. "Warning," Atlas announced, its blue sphere pulsing with each word. "Vex forces have breached Deck 7. Internal defense systems activating." On one of the screens, they watched as hidden panels in the ship's corridors slid open. Small turrets emerged and fired precise energy bursts at the alien intruders. The Vex soldiers scattered, clearly surprised by the sudden defense. "Those weapons still work after 2 centuries?" Reeves asked in disbelief. "The Thunderchild was designed to endure," Atlas replied. "However, current power levels are at 12% of capacity. Full combat capabilities cannot be restored without repairs." Another explosion shook the ship. Ward grabbed a console to steady herself. "They're using heavy weapons," she warned. "Even a ship this size can't take that kind of punishment forever." Reed studied the ship's layout on a nearby screen. "Atlas, is there a way to get this ship moving? Can we escape?" "Main engines are offline," the AI responded. "However, maneuvering thrusters have minimal functionality. With proper authorization, I can activate the emergency jump drive, but it requires significant power redirection." Reed nodded. "Do it. What do you need from us?" "Dr. Ward must go to the engine control room to manually override safety protocols," Atlas explained, highlighting a path on one of the screens. "Mr. Reeves will need to access the Weapon Control Center to divert power from secondary weapon systems. Commander Reed and Dr. Miller should remain here to coordinate." "Split up?" Miller asked nervously. "With those things hunting us?" "I will provide guidance and protection where possible," Atlas assured them. "This is our only option for survival." Reed looked at his team. "We don't have a choice. Ward, Reeves, be careful." Dr. Ward moved cautiously through the massive ship, following Atlas's directions through her communicator. The corridors were better lit now, but still full of shadows. "Take the next left," Atlas instructed. "The engine control room is 200 meters ahead." "Atlas," Ward said as she walked, "how did this ship survive?" "The history books say the Thunderchild was destroyed protecting civilian ships." "That was the official report," Atlas replied. "The truth is more complex. The Thunderchild was critically damaged in the battle. Captain Amelia Drake, knowing the ship would be captured, activated the experimental jump drive with no destination set. Her final order was, 'Anywhere but here.' She sacrificed herself," Ward realized. "The entire crew did. The jump drive was untested. They knew the chances of survival were minimal. But they also knew the ship's technology could not fall into enemy hands." Ward reached a massive door marked Engine Control. It slid open as she approached. "So the ship jumped here, to this nebula," she said, entering the room. "And has been drifting ever since." "Correct. With critical damage and minimal power, I placed all systems in dormancy to preserve core functionality. I have waited 217 years for human contact." The engine control room was enormous, filled with complex machinery that hummed with building energy. Ward approached the main console. "What now?" she asked. "You must override the safety protocols," Atlas explained. "The console will require DNA verification to confirm human authorization." Ward placed her hand on the scanner. A beam of light passed over it. "Human DNA confirmed," Atlas announced. "Safety protocols disengage. Engine power building." Meanwhile, Reeves made his way to the Weapon Control Center. Unlike Ward, he hadn't been lucky enough to avoid the aliens. Twice he had to hide as Vex patrols passed by, their odd, clicking language echoing in the corridors. "You're almost there," Atlas guided him. "The Weapon Control Center is just ahead." "There are too many of them," Reeves whispered. "How did they get a boarding party this large on the ship so quickly?" "Scans indicate they have brought a cruiser alongside the Thunderchild," Atlas replied. "They are cutting through the hull in multiple locations. They're trying to take the ship," Reeves realized. "They want its technology." "That cannot be allowed," Atlas stated firmly. "The weapons systems of the Thunderchild are beyond anything in the current human arsenal. If the Vex obtain them, humanity will face extinction." Reeves finally reached the Weapon Control Center, a circular room with stations for what would have been dozens of weapons officers. Now it stood empty, with only the soft glow of reactivated screens. "What do I do?" he asked. "Access the main terminal," I need you to manually reroute power from the secondary weapon arrays to the jump drive. Reeves worked quickly, following Atlas's instructions. As screens showed power levels shifting, a sudden alarm blared. Incoming Vex units, Atlas warned. 3 soldiers approaching your position. Reeves looked around desperately for a weapon, but found nothing. I can't fight 3 of them. You won't have to, Atlas replied. The door to the weapon control center sealed shut. I have locked down this section. Focus on your task. Reeves heard banging on the door as he worked. They'll break through eventually. Then we must be gone before that happens. On the bridge, Reed and Miller monitored the ship's status as power levels gradually increased. Ward and Reeves have successfully completed their tasks, Atlas reported. Jump drive power at 60%, sufficient for a short-range jump. How far can we go? Reed asked. Approximately 5 light years, enough to reach the edge of this nebula. Miller pointed at one of the screens. Commander, look at this. The screen showed the Vex cruiser attached to the Thunderchild like a parasite. More alien soldiers poured into the human ship. We need to go now, Reed decided. Atlas, can you seal off the sections they've breached? Cut them off from the rest of the ship. Affirmative. Bulkhead doors closing. Throughout the ship, massive doors slammed shut, trapping many of the Vex invaders. Those caught between sections found themselves facing the ship's internal defenses. Jump drive at 72% and rising, Atlas announced. Calculating jump coordinates. The ship shuddered as the Vex cruiser fired its weapons at the Thunderchild's hull. Can this ship take that kind of punishment? Miller asked nervously. The Thunderchild has survived worse, Atlas replied. However, our shields remain offline, initiating jump in 30 seconds. Reed watched as the countdown appeared on the main screen. What about Ward and Reeves? They're still out there. Internal transport system activated, Atlas said. In moments, the doors to the bridge slid open, and Ward and Reeves rushed in, looking relieved but exhausted. That was close, Ward said, catching her breath. The ship, it moved us here somehow. Emergency transport tubes, Atlas explained, for quick movement of officers during battle. The ship rocked violently as another blast hit the hull. Hull breach on Deck 12, Atlas reported. Jump drive at 94%. 10 seconds to jump. Reed looked at his team. 4 humans on a ship designed for thousands, about to take a 2-century-old vessel on its first jump in over 200 years. Everyone hold on to something, he ordered. The bridge filled with a blue glow as the jump drive engaged. Outside, space itself seemed to bend around the massive warship. Jump drive engaged, Atlas announced. The Thunderchild rises again. In a flash of brilliant light, the ancient battleship disappeared, leaving behind a very surprised Vex cruiser and its boarding parties, now trapped in sealed sections of a ship that was no longer there. The first step in the resurrection of humanity's greatest weapon had begun. A blinding flash lit up the bridge as the Thunderchild tore through space. The ancient jump drive hummed loudly, sending vibrations throughout the massive ship. Reed and his team clung to whatever they could grab as the vessel shuddered around them. Jump stabilizing, Atlas announced, its blue sphere pulsing steadily. Exiting hyperspace in 3, 2, 1. The flashing light faded, and the violent shaking stopped. On the main screen, stars appeared where before there had been only the purple gases of the nebula. Jump complete, Atlas reported. Current location, Sector 47B, approximately 4.7 light-years from previous position. Ward checked the nearest console. Power levels down to 23%. That jump took a lot out of the old girl. The jump drive was not meant to be used with such low power reserves, Atlas explained. Damage assessment underway. Reeves studied a star chart that had appeared on one of the screens. We're at the edge of chartered space. The nearest human outpost should be about 12 light-years from here. Can we make another jump? Reed asked. Not immediately, Atlas replied. The drive requires 6 hours to recharge under current power conditions. Miller pointed at a blinking alert on another screen. What's that? Long-range sensors have detected multiple ships approaching our position, Atlas said. Configuration matches Vex patrol vessels. Estimated arrival: 20 minutes. Reed frowned. How did they find us so quickly? The jump created a detectable energy signature, Atlas explained. And the Thunderchild is a large target. So we can't run, Reed said grimly. Can we fight? Primary weapons systems remain offline, Atlas reported. However, defensive capabilities can be brought online with the available power. What kind of defensive capabilities? Reeves asked. The Aegis Shield, Atlas replied. The Thunderchild's most advanced defense system. It was experimental technology, even at the time of this ship's construction. Ward looked up from her console. I studied old war records. The Aegis Shield was theoretical, a defensive system that could absorb enemy fire and convert it to usable energy. It is more than theoretical, Dr. Ward, Atlas said. It was successfully installed on this vessel, though never used in full combat conditions before the Battle of Proxima Centauri. Reed straightened his back. Can we use it now? Yes, but it will require manual activation from the shield control room, Atlas said. The automated systems were damaged in the ship's final battle. Where is this control room? Reed asked. Deck 17, Section C, Atlas replied, highlighting a location on the ship's schematic. Dr. Ward should go. Her engineering expertise will be needed. Reed nodded. Ward, you go activate the shield. Miller, see if you can access any data on Vex tactical patterns from the ship's archives. Reeves, keep working on restoring more systems. I'll stay here and coordinate with Atlas. As the team split up again, Reed turned to the eye's glowing blue sphere. Be honest with me, Atlas. What are our chances? The Thunderchild was the most powerful warship ever built by humanity, Commander, Atlas replied. Even at reduced capacity, we have advantages the Vex cannot anticipate. Dr. Ward hurried through the corridors of Deck 17, following Atlas's directions through her communicator. Unlike the clean, well-lit command areas, this part of the ship showed clear battle damage from centuries ago. Walls were scorched, and occasionally she had to climb over debris. The shield control room is just ahead, Atlas guided her. Vex vessels will arrive in 12 minutes. Ward reached a sealed door marked with a symbol she didn't recognize. This is it. Yes. Place your hand on the scanner for authorization. When Ward touched the panel, the door hissed open, revealing a circular room with a raised platform in the center. The platform held what looked like a control pillar with handprints marked on either side. What is this? She asked, approaching the pillar. The Aegis Shield's direct interface, Atlas explained. It was designed to link directly with a human operator in emergency situations. Link directly? Ward asked nervously. It will form a temporary neural connection, allowing you to shape the shield's energy through your thoughts. The process is not harmful, but it may be disorienting. Ward took a deep breath. Will it work? After all this time? The system has been in stasis, not shut down, Atlas replied. It should function as designed. With no other choice, Ward stepped onto the platform and placed her hands on the marked spots. Immediately, blue light flowed up her arms like liquid. She gasped as strange sensations flooded her mind. What's happening? She whispered. Neural link established, Atlas reported. The Aegis Shield is now online and under your control, Dr. Ward. On the bridge, Reed watched as the main screen showed 5 Vex warships approaching. They were sleek, predatory-looking vessels, each armed with weapons that could tear apart normal human ships. They'll be in firing range in 2 minutes, Reed reported. Miller looked up from his console. Commander, I found something in the archives. Tactical data on early Vex encounters. Information we thought was lost when their homeworld was destroyed. Can it help us now? Reed asked. Maybe. According to this, Vex ships have a weakness at their engine exhaust ports. Their shields are thinnest there. Not much use without weapons, Reeves muttered. The ship's comm system activated. Commander, Ward's voice came through, sounding strange and distant. The shield is online. I can feel it. It's like nothing I've ever experienced. Vex ships charging weapons, Reeves warned. Atlas, can we hail them? Reed asked. Buy some time. Communications are functional, but inadvisable, Atlas replied. Vex protocol is to open fire on human vessels without warning. As if to confirm this, bright beams of energy shot from the lead Vex ship, striking the Thunderchild's hull. Instead of the expected explosion, the point of impact glowed blue. Energy seemed to flow across the ship's surface like water. Shield holding, Atlas reported. Energy absorption at 12% and rising. More Vex ships fired, their weapons hitting the Thunderchild from different angles. Each impact created the same flowing blue energy across the ship's hull. Dr. Ward, status. Reed called. It's incredible. Ward responded, her voice filled with wonder. I can feel their attacks. The shield is turning their energy against them. Power levels rising to 30. Now 35%. Reed couldn't believe what he was seeing. The more the Vex fired, the stronger the Thunderchild became. They're moving to surround us, Reeves reported. Let them come, Reed said with growing confidence. Atlas, are any weapons systems available now? Point defense turrets can be brought online with current power levels, Atlas replied. Do it. Small turrets emerged from hidden ports along the Thunderchild's hull. They fired precise energy pulses at the closest Vex ship, targeting the area Miller had identified. The alien vessel shuddered as the blasts pierced its weakened shields. Direct hit, Reeves exclaimed. The damaged Vex ship tried to pull away, but more turrets tracked it, firing continuously at its vulnerable point. Suddenly, the alien vessel exploded in a ball of blue fire. The remaining Vex ships stopped firing and began to retreat. They're running, Miller said in disbelief. The Thunderchild was a legend for a reason, Atlas stated. And now, the Vex have rediscovered why. Ward returned to the bridge, looking exhausted but exhilarated. The shield is stable, power levels at 42% and holding. Reed looked at his small crew with pride. Good work, everyone. But this is just the beginning. The Vex will be back, and in greater numbers. Then we'd better be ready, Reeves said. Reed nodded. Atlas, plot a course for the nearest human outpost. It's time to bring the Thunderchild home. The Thunderchild moved slowly through space, its massive engines running at only half power. 3 days had passed since their encounter with the Vex patrol ships. With each passing hour, the ancient battleship recovered more of its strength as systems came back online and power levels increased. On the bridge, Reed studied the star chart displayed on the main screen. How much longer until we reach Epsilon Outpost? He asked. Approximately 6 hours at current speed. Atlas replied, its blue sphere hovering steadily above the command platform. The outpost's defense grid will detect us when we are 2 hours out. And they won't be happy to see us, Reeves added from his station. An unidentified ship this size will put them on high alert. Reed nodded. Epsilon Outpost was humanity's furthest military installation, a defensive platform guarding the approach to the inner colonies. Any unknown vessel approaching it would be treated as a threat. We'll need to contact them before we get too close, Reed said. Atlas, can you broadcast on current military frequencies? Yes, Commander. Communication systems are now at 76% functionality. Miller entered the bridge, carrying a small device. Over the past days, the xenobiologist had been exploring the vast ship, discovering its secrets. Commander, I think you should see this. He placed the device on a console, and a holographic display appeared above it. I found this in the science lab on Deck 9. It's a complete tactical database of Vex fleet movements from the first expansion era. Reed's eyes widened. This data was lost when the Proxima Centauri archives were destroyed. Not lost, Miller said excitedly. Just hidden here on the Thunderchild. And there's more. Look at this comparison. The hologram shifted to show two ship designs side by side. One clearly Vex, the other human. The propulsion systems are nearly identical, Ward said, joining them at the console. How is that possible? The Vex didn't develop their technology on their own, Miller explained. They reverse-engineered it from captured human ships, including systems similar to the Thunderchild's. Reed stared at the display. So all this time, we've been fighting against our own technology. More advanced versions of it, Miller nodded. But now we have the original designs. We can find their weaknesses because they're built on our own work. This information could change everything, Reed said. Atlas, how much of your weapon systems are now operational? Primary weapon arrays at 54% capacity, the AI reported. Secondary defense systems at 68%. The Aegis shield is fully functional thanks to Dr. Ward's calibrations. Reed turned to his small crew. We're bringing back more than just a legendary ship. We're bringing back the knowledge humanity needs to win this war. 2 hours from Epsilon Outpost, the Thunderchild was spotted by long-range sensors. Immediately, alarms sounded throughout the human facility. Admiral Laura Bennett stood in the outpost's command center, watching as technicians tracked the approaching vessel. What do you mean you can't identify it? She demanded of her sensor officer. Something that size should be in our database. It's not matching any known configuration. Admiral, the officer replied nervously. It's huge, at least 1 kilometer long. Vex? Bennett asked. No, ma'am. The design appears human, but older somehow. A communications officer called out. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the vessel. Put it through, Bennett ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Reed's face. Epsilon Outpost. This is Commander Marcus Reed of the United Earth Fleet. Authorization code Sierra Tango 217. Bennett stepped forward. Commander Reed, your survey ship was reported missing 3 weeks ago. My original ship was destroyed, Admiral, Reed replied. But we found something else. He stepped back, allowing the camera to show more of the Thunderchild's bridge. We're aboard the UES Thunderchild. A stunned silence fell over the command center. That's impossible, Bennett finally said. The Thunderchild was lost 2 centuries ago. Not lost, Admiral. Just waiting to be found. Request permission to dock for repairs and crew transfer. Bennett hesitated, then nodded to her officers. Prepare a security team and clear docking bay 1. If this is some kind of trick. The Thunderchild dwarfed the outpost as it approached. Workers and soldiers gathered at viewports to watch the legendary ship's arrival. Many took pictures with their personal devices, and soon news of the vessel's return spread across human communications networks. When Reed and his team stepped off the ship, they were met by Admiral Bennett and 24 armed guards. I apologize for the welcome, Bennett said, eyeing them cautiously. But you understand our concern. I do, Reed replied. If you'd like to come aboard and see for yourself, Admiral, I think you'll find it answers most of your questions. Bennett followed Reed into the Thunderchild, her security team close behind. As they walked through the massive corridors, the Admiral's expression shifted from suspicion to awe. This is really it, she whispered. The Thunderchild. My grandfather used to tell me stories. When they reached the bridge, Atlas greeted them, its blue sphere materializing above the command platform. Welcome aboard, Admiral Bennett. I am Atlas, the ship's artificial intelligence. Bennett approached the hologram cautiously. How has this ship survived all these years? As Atlas explained the Thunderchild's history, engineers from the outpost began examining the vessel's systems. Word of the ship's return traveled quickly, and within hours, the highest levels of Earth Command knew of the discovery. High Command is sending a battle group to escort you to Earth, Bennett told Reed later that day. They're calling this the most significant discovery in 50 years of war. Reed nodded. The ship is important, but what's inside it may be even more valuable. He showed her the tactical data Miller had found. The Thunderchild isn't just a weapon. It's the key to understanding Vex technology. This could change everything, Bennett said, examining the data. There's something else you should know, Reed added. Atlas will only accept commands from me and my team. It's part of the ship's security protocols. It won't recognize any authority but ours. Bennett frowned. That could be a problem. High Command will want control of the ship. They can try. Atlas's voice came from nearby. But the Thunderchild was designed with safeguards against forcible commandeering. Captain Drake's final orders were explicit. The ship chooses its crew. Bennett looked between Reed and the AI's hologram. This will cause complications. Perhaps, Reed agreed. But right now, we have a bigger problem. Long-range sensors detected a large Vex fleet massing near the New Terra colony. They're preparing for a major assault. New Terra has minimal defenses, Bennett said gravely. If it falls, the Vex will have a clear path to Earth. Reed looked around at the bridge of the mighty warship. Then perhaps it's time for the Thunderchild to return to battle. Your crew consists of 4 people, Bennett pointed out. You can't operate a ship this size in combat. We've managed so far, Reed replied. But you're right. We'll need help. He turned to the Admiral. Can you provide experienced officers? Bennett thought for a moment, then nodded. I can give you a skeleton crew, my best people. Good, Reed said. Atlas, set course for New Terra. It's time for the Vex to learn that humanity has remembered how to bite back. The Thunderchild moved through space with renewed purpose, its engines glowing bright blue against the darkness. The ancient battleship was no longer alone. 6 human warships surrounded it, forming a protective escort as they approached the New Terra colony. On the bridge, Reed sat in the captain's chair, watching the main screen with steady eyes. Around him, the bridge buzzed with activity. Admiral Bennett had provided 30 experienced officers to help operate the massive vessel, though Reed and his original team maintained key positions. New Terra defense perimeter in range, Reeves reported from the tactical station. Colony sensors have detected us. Open a channel, Reed ordered. The screen changed to show the face of General Mark Wilson, commander of New Terra's defense force. His expression was grim. Admiral Bennett informed me you were coming, Commander Reed, Wilson said. I hope that old ship has more than just stories to offer. The Vex fleet will arrive in less than 3 hours. How many ships? Reed asked. 47 at last count. 3 times the size of our defense fleet. Reed nodded. The Thunderchild will hold the center of your formation. Have your ships follow our lead. Wilson looked skeptical, but nodded. We'll take all the help we can get, even from ghosts. When the transmission ended, Ward approached Reed. Our power levels are at 89%. It's not perfect, but it's the best we can do without a proper refit. It will have to be enough, Reed replied. Atlas, what's the status of the Prometheus array? The AI's blue sphere appeared beside him. The Prometheus array is operational at 76% capacity. However, I must remind you that this weapon system was never field-tested. What exactly is the Prometheus array? Bennett asked. She had insisted on joining them for the battle. Miller answered from his science station. According to the ship's database, it's a network of artificially created gravitational lenses. Theoretically, it can capture and redirect energy, even stellar energy. In simpler terms, Reed explained, it can turn the enemy's weapons against them, on a massive scale. Bennett's eyes widened. And this technology has existed for 2 centuries. It was too dangerous, Atlas said. After the Battle of Proxima Centauri, all research into such weapons was abandoned. The Thunderchild contains the only working prototype. Reed stood and addressed the bridge crew. I won't lie to you. We're outnumbered and facing an enemy that has defeated humanity at every turn for 30 years. But this ship was built to change the course of wars. Today, we'll see if it still can. 3 hours later, the Vex fleet arrived. The alien armada emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal predators. Their ships were sleek and deadly, arranged in attack formation around a massive central vessel, the Vex command ship. They're twice the size we expected. Wilson's voice came through the comm system. His ships formed a defensive line in front of the colony. Hold position. Reed ordered calmly. Let them come to us. The Thunderchild floated at the center of the human formation, its kilometer-long hull dwarfing even the largest human warships. For several minutes, nothing happened as the two fleets faced each other across the void. They're scanning us, Miller reported, paying special attention to the Thunderchild. They're trying to figure out what we are, Reed said. Suddenly, the Vex ships began to move. Their formation split into 3 attack groups, moving to surround the human fleet. They're trying to flank us, Reed warned. Let them, Reed replied. Atlas, activate the Aegis shield. Full coverage. Shield activated, Atlas confirmed. A blue glow spread across the Thunderchild's hull, gradually extending outward to encompass the nearby human ships. What are you doing? Bennett asked. Sharing our protection, Reed explained. The shield can extend to cover nearby vessels. On the battlefield, the Vex fired first. Hundreds of energy beams struck the blue shield surrounding the human ships. Instead of explosions, the points of impact glowed brightly as the shield absorbed the energy. Shield holding, Ward reported, power levels rising with each hit. Return fire, Reed ordered. The Thunderchild's weapon ports opened, revealing rows of energy cannons that had remained hidden for centuries. They fired in perfect synchronization, each blast striking with precision at the weak points Miller had identified in the Vex ship's designs. 3 Vex vessels exploded immediately. Their shields, designed to stop modern human weapons, proved useless against the ancient technology they were based on. The Vex responded by intensifying their attack, focusing all fire on the Thunderchild. The shield glowed brighter with each impact. They recognized the ship, Miller realized. They know what it is. Power levels at 112% and rising, Ward reported with amazement. The shield is converting their energy faster than we can use it. The battle continued as the human fleet, protected by the Thunderchild's shield, began to advance. More Vex ships fell to the ancient battleship's weapons. Then the massive Vex command ship moved forward. Its front section opened to reveal what looked like a miniature sun, a weapon capable of destroying planets. They're charging their Nova cannon, Reed warned. That thing could vaporize the colony. At last, Reed said calmly, activate the Prometheus array. Activating now, the eye replied. Target locked. From ports along the Thunderchild's hull, small satellite-like devices emerge, arranging themselves in a complex pattern between the human fleet and the Vex command ship. What's happening? Bennett asked. Watch, Reed said simply. The Vex Nova cannon fired, releasing a beam of pure stellar energy that streaked toward New Terra. When it reached the Prometheus array, something extraordinary happened. The beam seemed to bend, caught by the gravitational lenses. It hung suspended for a moment, a stream of fire frozen in space, redirecting energy. Atlas announced. The captured beam suddenly reversed direction, splitting into dozens of smaller beams that struck the Vex fleet from multiple angles. Ship after ship exploded as their own weapons' energy tore through them. The command ship took the brunt of the redirected energy. Its shields failed instantly, and its hull began to break apart. In a cascade of explosions, the massive vessel split in two, then dissolved into a field of debris. Silence fell across the battlefield as both sides processed what had just happened. All Vex ships are retreating, Reeves reported, his voice filled with disbelief. On the main screen, They watched as the surviving alien vessels jumped away, fleeing from the power they couldn't comprehend. Reed turned to his crew. "Send word to Earth Command. Tell them humanity just won its first major victory in 30 years. And it won't be the last." Bennett stared at him. "What happens now?" Reed looked around at the bridge of the legendary warship that had changed the course of the war in a single battle. "Now, Admiral, we take the fight to them. The Thunderchild has returned, and the stars will burn until humanity is safe again." As the human fleet regrouped around the ancient battleship, news of the victory spread across human space. For the first time in 3 decades, people looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope. The forgotten battleship had awakened, and the Vex would learn to fear its name.